The word shared today comes from the Gospel according to Mark, the 5th chapter. And you just heard Merriman tell a story. And what he didn't tell you is that in the midst of all of that crowd and all of those interruptions, this story happens too. The beginning of his story and the end of his story is separated by this story, which I'm about to tell you. It's the 25th through the 34th verses of the 5th chapter of Mark. Now there was a woman who had been suffering from hemorrhages for 12 years. She had endured much under many physicians and had spent all that she had. And she was no better, but rather grew worse. She had heard about Jesus and came up behind him in the crowd and touched his cloak, for she said, "If I but touch his clothes, I will be made well." Immediately, her hemorrhage stopped. And she felt in her body that she was healed of her disease. Immediately aware that power had gone forth from him, Jesus turned about in the crowd. You remember how Merriman said he turned away from that leader? Immediately aware that power had gone out from him, Jesus turned about in that crowd and said, "Who touched my clothes?" And his disciples said to him, "You can see this crowd pressing in on you. How can you say, 'Who touched me?'" He looked all around to see who had done it. But the woman, knowing what had happened to her, came in fear and trembling, fell down before him, and told him the truth. He said to her, "Daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace and be healed of your disease." Hear what the Spirit is saying to the people. Thanks be to God. Amen.